In this video, I'm going to describe something that a lot of financial advisors think is somewhat of a bad thing, which is having a taxable brokerage account. There's many advisors out there that think that you have to put money into some sort of plan where you lock up your money for 30 years, but that's not necessarily the case. Taxable brokerage accounts actually have a lot of benefits to them, and I'm going to describe some of the benefits that you can actually get from a taxable brokerage account. If you like content like this, being educated about different types of investment concepts and products, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, Financial Ownership, because I make content like this all the time. So click below so you can get notified and subscribe to the channel, Financial Ownership. But to kind of get into it, one of the major things that a brokerage account, a taxable brokerage account has that a lot of Roth accounts, 401k accounts, traditional 401ks, 403bs, and all these different retirement plans that people use, the conventional retirement plans that people use nowadays, is there's no limitations in terms of the amount of money you could put into a taxable brokerage account. If you're talking about Roth accounts like Roth IRAs, the annual contribution limit is $6,000. So if you actually wanted to make an income stream right away, putting in $6,000 in one time won't make a significant impact in your life in terms of taking distributions for retirement. And a lot of times there's different types of penalty fees and restrictions, but I'm not going to go into that right now. But the good thing is when it comes to having a taxable brokerage account, there's no income limits, and you could put in, say, even $1 million all at once in a taxable brokerage account. There's ways you could lower and mitigate your risk by having some sort of allocation of stocks and bonds in your portfolio. You don't have to necessarily put 100% in the stock market or anything like that. And I talk a lot about different risk mitigation strategies in my content. So if you want to learn more about how to lower your risk when it comes to investing and growing your money, I'll link some videos at the end that you could watch too as well. But the thing is, you could earn 5% from, say, that $1 million that you have in your taxable brokerage account, and that actually could make a significant impact in your life, where it actually could take care of some bills and expenses, and it could be a supplement to you. So if you're kind of looking for kind of like an annuitized income or income right away, and you want to receive income, there's plenty of different investment funds that actually pay you monthly. They pay you monthly dividends and interest, where you could receive income from your investments right away. And you don't have to necessarily even worry about having to liquidate your stocks, your equities that you have in your portfolio. And there's plenty of high yielding ones where you could get, say, even a 5 to 7% rate of return. It'll fluctuate obviously based on the value of what you have in terms of stocks and bonds. But at the end of the day, if you're investing in high grade bonds and blue chip companies, you don't have to worry too much about losing all of your money long term, considering that you're in investments like this. Your money is at risk when you do make those investments, but there are smart investments that you can make. And I talk a lot about that in my channel. So that's one thing, is that the fact that there's no income limitations when you use brokerage accounts. Another thing is unrealized capital gains. So a lot of people don't realize that when you put your money in a taxable brokerage account, it doesn't mean all of it gets taxed. So it's kind of a misconception that people have. They think that if I have a stock or whatever it is, I have $100 worth of that stock, and that stock appreciates to say $200 next year, I have to pay $100 in taxes on that stock. But that's not necessarily true. You only have to pay taxes on dividends and income, interest that you receive, or dividend payouts that you receive from the company. The rest of what accumulates in value is what's called unrealized capital gains, meaning it's not taxed until you realize it or you sell it, in other words. So that's basically how the equity markets work. So your money could accumulate a certain amount in value, and you won't have to pay taxes until you sell. And obviously there's things like long-term capital gains and short-term capital gains. Short-term capital gains, if you sell within a year, you get taxed at your ordinary income rate, like whatever your tax bracket is. So if you get, if you normally tax at your highest tax bracket is 24%, that's what you're gonna have to pay in a short-term rate if you sell within a year on whatever profits you receive from your investments. But if you wait past a year, say you wait 1 year or beyond, what you do is pay long-term capital gains, which is around 10 to 20%. So that's the benefit of using a strategy like that when you want to sell for the long term. And if you don't sell at all, you could actually receive this higher dividend payouts from your investments, because more of your money is in those investable assets, and they will be paying you interest income and dividend income. And if what you seek is income replacement, that's a way that you could kind of put your money in an asset, and you don't have to worry about thinking about how much I have to sell of this particular asset in any given month or every given year in order for me to receive income. You can receive income from your investments if you have a decent amount of money in those investments, and basically let that income be a supplement to whatever you're doing. And the last thing that I'm going to say about this is it could have an immediate impact in your life when it comes to using a brokerage. Kind of to add on to that first point, because when you put in 6,000 in a Roth account or 20,000 in a 401k account, it's not going to have any sort of immediate impact in your life because you're not going to really receiving interest payments or dividend payments. But if you use a brokerage account, you'll be able to receive income right away, especially if you're investing a significant amount of money. Like if you're putting in 500,000 or a million or whatever it is that you're putting into this brokerage account, it could potentially give you a lot of money and yield a lot of return to you. And there's different things like covered call funds that give you higher income when you invest into these funds. Some funds pay even 10% in income that actually aren't that risky. Because typically when people think about higher dividends, they think about higher risk, but that's not necessarily true. There's different types of funds that pay extremely high dividends that don't necessarily have a ton of risk associated with it. So it all depends on what your investment strategy is. An investment strategy like that might not work for everyone because if you're putting in 6,000 into an account, it might not be worth it to receive dividends from your plan yet because you just haven't accumulated enough value. Because at the end of the day, when you're using a dividend yielding strategy, you're going to be getting taxed on it, and that's less money that's going to be used to appreciate your investments. So the thing is, if you don't have a lot of money, you want to have a more appreciation focused strategy. And how do you accumulate a lot of money and pay as little taxes as possible in the process of doing that? So I don't necessarily think that 401ks, IRAs, and all those type of things are bad, but it's just understanding that all these different types of strategies can complement each other, and you can invest in a way that could actually help you along the way versus just putting your money in a place where you could only take it out the next 30, 40 years later. There's different ways you could invest, and you don't have to stick with just a traditional strategy of, say, putting your money in a 401k or just using a Roth account. I'm a big believer that the money that you're making should be benefiting you in all aspects of your life. You shouldn't just be waiting for some year to happen, say 30 years later, to use money in a way that can make your life easier. And investing in a brokerage account can be a way to get access to money earlier without having to necessarily wait that 30 years. So it's just about having a certain dichotomy when it comes to your investment and figuring out what type of goal you're trying to accomplish and which investment strategies work the best to accomplish that goal. I hope you found some value in this, and if you like content like this, I make content like this all the time where I talk about different types of investment strategies and growing your money. If you like content like this, subscribe to the channel Financial Ownership, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.